For now, tossing between a 6.5 and a 7. I'll go for a 7.
What you say? That you only meant well.
Tenet, spoiler talk.
Spoilers! Hello, welcome to Critical Idiots. We're doing spoilers this time.
So this film starts real quick. Like the stuff you saw in the trailer, I thought maybe 20 minutes in. It's like the second scene when he gets like the gun and they teach him about the bullets that go backwards.
You gotta catch the bullet.
Yeah. That's like the second scene.
That was great. That was like...
That reminded me of Wanted.
Yeah,
at that point.
Sorry.
My favorite sequence in the film was the fight he had with his future self.
His past self, the future self is...
Whatever, he fights with himself.
Both parts
Yeah.
of that, or-
Right, both parts. Oh, well, no, I really liked the first part.
Yeah.
The second part, not as much. But the first part, that was one of the scenes that I was smiling and I was like, yes.
I did like that, but what had to be my standout scene was when they're talking behind that glass thing, and one of them's talking forward and one of them's talking backwards, and you know they have the same conversation forwards and backwards as well. I thought that was really smart, smartly done. Well done.
The only thing that ruined that for me was like Kenneth Branagh's character being like, alright, 1, 2, 3, now I say this, 1, 2, 3, because I didn't really get the sense of him doing that the first time around.
That took a little bit out of it,
Yeah.
but overall, like, that's
It added
some
all
creative shit.
Yeah, it was wild.
But I felt the scene could have slowed down just so you could have understood exactly those beats, and when they come back into play, it would have had a bigger impact because it'd be like, oh shit, now he's doing the thing that I just saw. But I felt it was a bit, maybe I'm just dumb, but it was a bit too sped up for me.
I mean, those things aren't, mutually exclusive.
I thought it was funny when they broke into the Indian arms dealer's house and Robert Pattinson just like killed one of the guards, and then the girl's like, take a seat, come on. Hey, can you get him a drink?
That whole scene, I had no idea what was happening.
Yeah.
Why do they
I
have
was
to go
like,
to India?
why is who is these people? What is going on?
Yeah, exactly. Well,
I think we'd all
arms
benefit.
dealers?
I think we'd all benefit from the second watch right about
I
now.
roughly knew what was going on once the stuff with the painting got brought into the story. I was like, okay, I'm sort of following this now. And then you spend like a good 40 minutes on their boat and stuff. And it's like, okay, I can follow this now. But it still didn't ultimately make sense.
Well, it doesn't feel like it doesn't make sense. It just feels like you don't care enough to really know why they're doing what they're doing.
And I feel like that's the problem with Kenneth Branagh's character, is that he's not given enough depth.
Yeah, it's like it's a bit generic.
Yeah.
a bit bland.
I think.
No, I mean, I just didn't care about him as a villain. He didn't seem as,
Yeah.
Stock Eastern European villain.
Do you think that's something to do with like
It's
the
daunting.
M rating that Christopher Nolan goes, where he's like straddling that line where it can't be too violent,
What's
it can't be
this rated,
too
Sam?
edgy. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a
But
M.
like even in his dialogue, it's not very prevalent what he's trying to do, and there's no fear factor.
I really liked about his character just the idea of this person who would have lived under communist Russia, and then, during the collapse of the USSR, like, communist Russia would be crazy. You can imagine the collapse of the USSR would have been crazy, and being an arms dealer also now in the world that he lives in is insane, and just like the world that this man has seen, and just how that probably has crumbled his faith in mankind, and how I can sort of believe that he lived in this doomsday
I
world.
could believe that in paper. I don't know if I believe that in the performance.
Oh,
there's so many elements of his
I just
character.
mean I like the
Yeah.
concept
Oh,
of
yeah.
the guy,
Same.
this guy who like was brought up during
Yeah.
the idea of
Yeah.
nuclear holocaust, and that's just the norm for him.
Yeah.
That's elements of his character though that are good, as you say, on
Yeah.
paper, but it doesn't come across for him.
Isn't
it's
realized
haunting.
on screen.
To state just the point for discussion of his character, he sort of gets to a point where he's like, well, I think he's got lung cancer or something.
Pancreatic cancer.
Pancreatic cancer.
They don't set that up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they don't. It's just, they just drop it.
It comes up later
Pancreatic.
and it gets dropped on you.
Pancreatic,
Like a
sorry.
But he pretty much has this mentality, well, if I can't have the world, no one can. And it also extends to his wife, and he's very abusive or whatever, and he's like, if I can't have her, no one can. And so he's devised a way to destroy the world, to make time stop.
I feel like that could be a great, Oh, fuck.
Because the best antagonists have motivations
Yeah.
that you can actually empathize
I feel like that
with.
could be a great motivation.
That's why Thanos was actually a really good...
Yeah.
And out of the blue, Marvel can't do villains, and then they do
Yeah.
Thanos. And it's like, his point of view, a lot of people would say, is really flawed, but it is a philosophy that you're like, oh, that's real. That's not just like a guy twirling his mustache,
understand
tying
it.
a woman to the train
Yeah.
tracks.
Yes.
Well, yeah, it's
Yeah,
such
they do.
big, major, like, wild, concepts for the character and his motivation and what he's trying to do. And he still feels so generic.
Yeah.
It's just like, but you've put in so much that
Yeah.
needs to come across in this character. And you've given it to someone doing a bad Russian accent?
I also don't quite understand with the end. They say they drop the ball on you that he's got cancer and that he's dying, but that if he dies, somehow
The
that
whole
ends
world
the
goes-
world.
Mm.
And maybe it could have been the crappy dialogue and editing and sounds editing that what they were blaming before. But I feel like I was just trying to struggle to understand that. I was like, is that because he set something up for the future to go back in time, or is it just like why? Why?
Yeah, and then it's like they can't just kill him. They need to get something out of this hole in the ground before it gets exploded, and it has to be brought
They
up.
need to get the algorithm, which is essentially the device that allows for items to be inverted so things can travel backwards. But
And was that exploded?
if it's
in the original time, no, it wouldn't have been.
but if it gets destroyed,
Alright, what about Michael Caine? His central
Sir
performance.
Michael Caine.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah,
yes,
so-
yes.
Oscar-worthy supporting role, I believe.
Didn't even have to get up.
Made me cry. I pitched that. I was like, yeah, no, look, it's gonna have Michael Caine. He's gonna say some exposition, and he's gonna be mostly sitting.
What
Come on,
did he
get wild
do?
with me on. Come on.
What did he do?
Come at me.
What did I don't know what Michael Caine did in that movie.
He ate some food.
That's like most of the
He
characters.
told him to get a new suit.
Yeah, he was like, your suit makes you look poor AF.
He trashed his style.
Yeah.
I also really liked in that scene how the protagonist walks in and he was like, I'll have what Michael Caine is having, and then he leaves 1 minute later, and I'm like, why
they
did you
do that
order
in movies all the time? Like
was
they
that-
hang up without saying goodbye and
But-
shit.
Yeah.
Actually, to be fair, Owen does that.
Oh, yeah.
But I just didn't. I understand that,
Yeah.
but why would he not just say, I'm like, no, I'm not eating, thank you.
Yeah.
I have to say,
They're
I
pumping-
did love
Time
that
affected
when they were
oxygen.
like, when they get to that point in the movie, we're like, all right, now you're going in.
Yeah.
Like now, but you're gonna enter the world in reverse.
Yeah,
So
that
these
was-
are the rules. Fire's gonna be cold, and driving might be weird.
Yeah.
I felt the excitement of coming up to that door
Yeah,
as well.
and I was like, okay, here we go. Now I'm with
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
and it was definitely fun. But
Yeah.
I did really like that idea of the oxygen as well, that like you can't breathe normally in this place because your lungs convert oxygen into carbon, but if you're doing in that reverse, you're getting carbon that's converted into oxygen, so
Yeah.
it's not the...
Let's go back.
Before we go into the ending, should we talk about the whole wife Russian gangster thing?
Don't worry about
We
it,
haven't really
comrades.
gone into that storyline at all. Like, 'cause when that storyline started, I thought it was like, okay, this is going to be a small bit, and then it ended up being like
Oh,
the
it's
whole
huge,
story. It was
yeah.
huge.
Yeah, it didn't feel like he'd end up being the main antagonist.
Yeah, I thought he'd be like,
The building
Yeah.
block.
They didn't set him up properly to be like, the main threat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis, I think, would have been a bit well suited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis, absolutely.
That could have been cool.
There's sort of like all these scenes where he's sort of... The protagonist is having this deal with the antagonist, and they're trying to sort of get things from each other, but they still seem to be sharing too much intimate time with one another. And I'd be like, I would not be comfortable. Like, he clearly knows that I'm trying to get something from him.
Yeah.
Like, when they go sailing and then his wife tries to kill him, I was like, well, yeah, if I was with a couple of people that wanted me dead, I really wouldn't go into the middle of the water with them.
Yeah.
What does he have over her? Like a painting or something?
Oh yeah, no, he's
What
like.
was that?
Yeah.
No, she got him this deal of a painting that he spent $9 million of, and obviously that's fraud.
It was a
and
fake painting. It wasn't.
And so she didn't know it was a fake painting, but he's got it over her. So the $9 million fraud case would send her to jail, and she'd never be able to see her son.
Like, but surely cause like she didn't even know at the time that it
No,
was.
her name's Kat,
Yeah, Kat
not
didn't.
Shirley.
Frankly, mate.
Like the wife is in the Elizabeth Debicki is in peril, and he needs to save her, and he's got to make a choice that saving her could lead to the apocalypse, could lead to the doomsday of everybody, and he chooses her, and you're just like, why would you?
I feel like maybe they were trying to give his character some depth at the start, where his team are all, I believe, killed, but he's someone that survived. So they were maybe trying to be like, oh, he's not going to let people that he cares about die. Like, he's trying to have.
But
that
why does he
relationship.
care with Butter in the first
He even
place?
like tried to kill himself instead of give anyone
exactly.
names or
He's
anything.
trying to look after.
Yeah.
I felt with the big, the main thing that was really bad to not understand, because there's a point that even when there's a bit confusing, they don't lay out the rules. When you see that car scene done in reverse, I felt like very, you really feel like you're in John David Washington's shoes, and you're experiencing this world for the first time, getting used to it, and like cars are swerving out of his way as he's driving. But they're swerving into the position they're in before they were swerving. So he's sort of going with them, which makes, him going to crash with them. And it's, super dangerous and risky. But then later when we get to like the climax of the film, they're storming the base. And there's like one team of soldiers who are going normally in time, and they have another division
who are going backwards.
And so they can exchange information and have a better what is it, the something pincer
The
temporal pincer.
Tempura Prince.
The halfway, the midpoint action sequence of the car chase, that was, I feel, really tastefully done, except for that one bit where he kind of like throws the football
or the package across the car.
Yeah, but like it bounces off the hood of another car and into the window. Yeah. Like, that's a 1 in a billion. Like, not even Michael Jordan can fucking do something like that. How the fuck does this happen? It's just too coincidental for my liking.
Yeah. I will say, going on to that, I did like how creative it was when the fire truck and the other truck was coming and they were blocking the cars in, and that kept it moving, and it just felt like a really fun scene.
It was a good. He knows how to do a heist. That's all good. I really liked that Robert Pattinson. I like that thing at the end that they've been friends for ages for Robert Pattinson.
Yeah,
and they've just kind of met.
I like that. I like that, but I wish they were friends through the movie a little bit.
Yeah.
I'd also say his acting at the end, when he's like tearing up and he kind of understands how like deep this is. That's when I was like, oh, that's some good acting. I like that. He's just showing emotion.
Only 3.5 hours in.
Yeah, it's like, what's at the end?
I just have been a sense with Robert Pattinson that he's like, oh, I'm gonna die soon. Like, I never got any of that.
I think he sort of knows, but he's not trying to think about it because he's like, it's not. That's what this whole mission is. Better not to think about it. There's so many things you just.
Oh, that's why he's drinking at the start. He's like,
maybe.
I secretly.
But I wish that they did show their friendship on screen far more. That when they first meet, that maybe there's like this really clear dynamic that instantly sort of hits and. I don't know.
Like, even like a Lethal Weapon dynamic, it's just like, it's fun, or it's like this chemistry or something.
Yeah, I could watch these two all day.
Yeah.
I secretly wanted...
Sequels?
I secretly wanted the ending to be like, how do you know so much about me? And then Robert Pattinson's like, I'm you.
Yes!
Oh my god.
I've got
Michael
facial
Jackson
reconstructive surgery.
I mean, maybe. What do we know?
I'm
what
you
do we
from
know?
the future.
Don't give him ideas. Don't give Christopher Nolan ideas.
Second watch. Give it a second
Look,
watch.
watch it again. You might be onto something.
Actually, sorry. You gave me an aha moment before talking about the ideas and the themes, and you brought up Harry Potter. So Harry Potter is a really good example of a movie that has rules and limitations to their magic system, and that's something that this film was really missing. It didn't show us the rules and limitations of the time reversals and whatnot, and that was just a big letdown to me. I didn't understand.
I was waiting for
enough.
it to happen. I was waiting for to understand it fully.
Yeah. So those moments, say when people are like all fighting and there's explosions and whatnot going on, you don't know like what's happening or how it's happening.
Yeah, or when there's a moment where I felt like I was pretty along with it. That sort of this object has always existed here, and it existed in the past. But it's actually been moving backwards this whole time, more or less, and there's a point that it's going to get to the future. This is going to be in the future without a goddamn doubt, because that's where it came from. And so I felt like pretty along with that. That's pretty simple. It's a really clean idea that things from the past things from the future are influencing the past as they go through their timeline.
But it becomes messy when it starts to be people going back to the past.
And he goes back, and then it's that you can have two people at the same time. They just say, you can't, that classic thing, if you see yourself back there, you can't touch yourself, you disintegrate. And that never really becomes a threat. There's sort of one bit that when they're fighting, he's fighting himself, but he's completely clothed, and it doesn't really feel like he's going to touch himself.
It adds another layer to his perspective of the fight when you come back to it, that he's kind of just trying not to make contact or,
Exposition. Well, there's so many like talking heads moments, like two people will sit down at a location. Yeah. It'll be shown in like a beautiful shot, then it'll be like... So, where are we going next? Like, where's the next place?
Yeah, over the shoulder reverse shot.
Yeah.
I don't think they really explained things too much. Like, there was exposition and stuff, but I feel like that was trying to give you a vibe of, go with it.
And that adds to the confusion.
I just feel like having some rules that are set.
Yeah, I agree.
It would just aid so much to, like, caring about it.
It's like the movie gave itself a free pass.
Yeah, it's like, maybe you'll get it next time.
But, like...
You have to watch again.
I think it is also another interesting parallel to Primer, that Primer specifically, the idea behind it is it's a sci-fi movie that is not dumbed down at all, and it's made for you to catch up to it.
But that would also just be like the concepts it's using to tell its plot or whatever. In terms of like, I agree with what you're saying to an extent, but I'm also thinking, but what was it about? It's like in terms of like what's deep about it or whatever. It's like say something like 2001 is at least about things. Like Tenet's like what's it? It's just fun. So I don't think it's really trying to be too...
Well, yeah, it's very MacGuffin-y. It's almost just like you're there for the plot. You're there to watch them do the thing.
What does the protagonist need... What change does the protagonist need that he's going to find by the end of the film? That usually every main character will have. They have a want and desire, and they're going to find that. And it's more than just like, defeating the bad guy. It's, protecting their family or doing this or having something specific to them or learning how to be a Jedi or etc. But he doesn't have a need or a desire that needs to be solved.
I know what he desires.
There's no like
you don't know.
For the greater good.
I know.
I mean, that's not right. There is a greater good, saving the apocalypse, but there's nothing like personal for him. So stylistically, it was a very intriguing and interesting film to watch.
I thought until the third act, like I loved how it was directed until then. And that final action scene was like, I really want this to be over. And every time they looked to the watch, I was like, okay, that's how long to go.
Oh, thank God.
And one thing about this film is I really felt like it was aspiring to kind of be more than just some I'm just making some action film or whatever. Like it was aspiring to be some James Bond, high stakes, blockbuster, but not dumb. And I really respect that. The Christopher Nolan, and I love that kind of filmmaking, that big grand scale. But yeah, it just couldn't quite deliver. And he has previously many times.
What were you gonna say, Dan?
That was pretty much it.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. Dag Daniel.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's not too... I kind of liked it for that, though. And maybe just my... just like what we've been watching this year has just lowered my standards or something. But I was just like, the whole time I was just like, I'm having fun.
Yeah.
And I liked how it was directed. Like, I liked how the camera would frame scenes and stuff. I thought it was a bit more interesting than some of his other works in that regard. The screenplay, not the same at all. I thought the screenplay was very messy. But yeah, no, I had a blast with it, and I liked the concepts were very ambitious. It didn't really pull everything off.
But that's ambition for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. I thought the concept was unique. I just wish there were better characters and relationships built.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Yeah, I think this delivers in a lot of ways. I think that I feel you put it really well that when I first saw Inception, and when you first saw Inception, there was a lot of people going around being like, "Oh, I had to watch it a couple of times for understanding," and I didn't really understand this sort of part. But for myself, I found it, really simple and quite easy to understand, and really, really not that complex at all. Quite simple, really. And watching this film, you're saying that this feels like you're one of those people who didn't get Inception.
Yeah, I feel like this is the film. Yeah. I can't remember exactly how it phrased it. Yeah.
I don't think it was a bad movie by any means. I just think
No, not at all.
it feels like we're shitting on it a lot.
Yeah. It was outstandingly creative and
it was
ambitious.
Yeah.
And although convoluted, they fucking swang for the fences.
Yeah.
I
And
think
that wildness added a lot of the fun to me.
Yeah.
Even if it was bits that maybe it's like, okay, maybe it's just not working. I'm enjoying those bits that aren't working.
Even though I couldn't feel the chemistry between the actors in a lot of the scenes, I definitely always felt the energy from Christopher Nolan. I felt like that he cared about this film and he wanted to make it this huge event.
Yeah.
I 100% got that.
Which, I mean, he did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, there's no way that this doesn't make...
I'm staying up
$1
tonight
billion
to edit this for a reason. I mean, he's definitely made something that's, as a cinema lover, I'm like, it's only a good thing to have more and more films like this and just big cinema events I love.
And there's something to be said that when somebody tries to do something that's so ambitious, I think it's something like Tree of Life as well, that film tries to tackle a lot, and it doesn't really succeed in that for me. But it's still what it's trying to do is so worthy of trying to attempt that even though I'm saying a lot of bad things maybe about it, that it really doesn't make it a bad film. It's just that there's more that stands out because of it, or the things that I came to see this film for didn't pay off the way that I wanted it to. And there's so many things that go into making a movie that did work, but the attraction it was a letdown. Christopher Nolan always gives himself a massive challenge, especially as he doesn't... Most people who try to deal with his subject matter create more outhouse films. And what he does is he tries to make something that's far more crowd-pleasing and that everyone can see, even if, you're not a brainiac and you don't think about theoretical physics. But he usually pulls it off far better and on a scale that is more... just more understandable, and I didn't think that it delivered in the same way for this film.
I would say instead of usually, I'd say used to, maybe, for me. Like, I don't know, I feel like he's had a rough record of his past few films I haven't enjoyed.
You're done, Kirk.
Yeah, Interstellar and Dunkirk, I thought both were really mediocre.
Well, it's not even about them being, like, amazing, it's just that they are a grander idea that gets told in a very simple, formula.
This one did not do it in a simple way.
No, it was very convoluted and confusing.
Yeah.
And I felt like there were times that it was trying to be like a noir where, sort of like a character comes into the scene, says some dialogue to another person, he's doing an investigation and walks out, really snappy, really to the point and strong. But I just really was so lost that it didn't work.
Blank slate for me. And while I think that the concept could have gone further or could have been explained a little bit more clearly, I don't think it was bad per se. I think it was almost better than 90% of the movies that I've seen this year. So
for sure.
I
all of the films of this year.
Sonic.
I haven't seen Sonic.
Okay, well that's why.
I only say 90% because Hamilton came out, and technically it's a 2016 film.
Yeah.
So,
what does Letterboxd say? That's what I ask.
It's 2020.
That's
Anyway,
the real thing.
So I'm just gonna leave it at that, and
Let's
should we
call
wrap
it
this up?
here.
If you hire a babysitter and you're not there, is the babysitter both there and not there?
It depends if she's been babysitting
no
for
baby.
years, but I've just hired her.
What?
She's been babysitting my child for years.
And he
But
both
I
has a
only
child
just
and
hired
doesn't
her.
have a child.
but I don't have a kid yet.
You have a kid in the future past, like in the future you go back and have a child.
She's
but
been
right now, no child.
She raised as a wet nurse. She raised my child, but I haven't had a kid yet.
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm just gonna go full.
So he has a
on
kid
what
in
we
the
talk
future
about.
timeline.
By the way, if you haven't
and
seen
then-
Tenet, that's kind of what it's like.
No, you gotta like.
Yeah,
So thank you so much for watching, guys. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. And what did you think of this movie? If you've seen it yet, be sure to leave a comment in the comment section below, and we'll see you next time for the next review. So take care, guys.
Now, I have a conspiracy theory. They think I'm crazy.
hit me.
But the son looked a lot older on the boat than he did when she picked him up at school. So I'm talking like he looked like he was 22 on the boat, and he looked like he was about 8 when she picked
Why
him up.
does
He's
Christopher Nolan
22.
always do this?
He's a grown man.
No,
Yeah, he was
Christopher
like this
Nolan
tall,
always does
like,
this.
I think that was just a
17-year-old.
guy on the boat who was like
No, but she's
directing
like,
it.
oh, mum.
You know the
Wait,
end
no,
of
you're talking about the
Inception?
cleaner. The guy cleaning the.
The guy in the red shirt.
That was not the son.
She-
That was
he
the
was
cleaner.
like, oh, you've come back. I
I thought it was the son too.
No, that was the boat cleaner.
Oh,
was
you
the
gotta
boat
watch
cleaner?
this
Are you talking
again.
about the guy
Wait,
sweeping the
you're talking
He's
sun?
about
like,
the guy-
he's like Italian.